Hello, everyone. A very warm welcome to all of you from Chennai, where the city is experiencing its share of chills, a little bit of winter. Hello. So, good evening. And on behalf of Team Avatar and myavatar.com, I welcome you to the 23rd day of our month long celebrations, the Diversity Mahotsav 2021. My name is Lakshmi Vijay Kumar, and I will be your host for today. As we start, let me give you a few hygiene checks for a seamless virtual experience. Do close all other applications on your computer and log out from your organization's virtual private network to conserve your internet bandwidth. So, it's not the differences that divide us, right? But the inability to accept, recognize, acknowledge, and more important, to celebrate the differences is what keeps us apart. Having the presence of people from different backgrounds and characteristics, gender, race, religion, culture, ethnicity, and sexual orientation is diversity. And when they work together effectively towards a common goal, that is the manifestation of building equitable and inclusive workspaces and beyond. December is a month of festival all around the world. So this December, let's share our differences and celebrate our similarities. Once again, extremely thrilled and delighted to welcome you all to the 23rd day of Diversity Mahotsav, a Mahotsav which is an opportunity for all of us to celebrate the diversity around us. Diversity Mahotsav is presented by myavatar.com, which is India's only diversity portal with jobs, events, skilling programs, webinars, and more for all the underrepresented groups at the workplace. For all those who have joined today, we are delighted to have you on board. Please do stay with us for the next 9 days of celebrating diversity, celebrating you. We look forward to hosting you through the next 10 days for some riveting sessions and loads of learning. We would like to thank our partners for Diversity Mahotsav 2021, our ideology partners Cognizant, HCL Technologies Limited, Strive, supporting partners for Asia India Private Limited, Saint Gobain India Private Limited, Sodexo India, and Zorian Solutions. And we would also like to thank our community partner, NASCOP. Our social media hashtags are hashtag Diversity Mahotsav, hashtag Celebrating Diversity. We look forward to you posting your experience at Diversity Mahotsav on your social media handles using the above hashtags. Yesterday, in the 22nd edition of Soundbites, we heard from Dr. Soundarya Rajesh, founder president at Avatar Group, on who should be driving the DEI agenda, the diversity, equity, and inclusion agenda in an organization. Should the agenda be percolating from the top down, from down up, or should it be a top down initiative? Let's begin our 23rd day with the 23rd edition of Soundbites, a series where our founder president, Dr. Soundarya Rajesh, clarifies some of the pertinent questions that she has been addressing on various aspects of diversity, equity, and inclusion in her 21-year-old career of being the subject matter expert in the space of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Dr. Soundarya is an award winning pioneer in this field as she explains the importance of equitable workspaces. Her work in this space of DEI is unparalleled in the country. Dr. Soundarya Rajesh is a social entrepreneur who has won several accolades and awards. To name some, she has won the 100 Women Achiever Award from the Government of India, the Web Wonder Woman Award by Twitter and the Ministry of Women and Child Welfare, Winds of Change Award 2019 by the Forum of Inclusion at Minnesota, Women Transforming India Award, Golden Aviator Award, Asia's Most Innovative Diversity and Inclusive Leaders Award, and the list goes on. Dr. Soundarya was once a second career woman who acted against the inequalities posed by the corporate world in recruiting women candidates on a career break. An inexorable advocate of the potential of women's workforce participation in the economy, Dr. Soundarya is the choice of advisor for an impressive list of organizations and leaders on the benefits of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Today, in the 23rd edition of Sound Bites, we will have Dr. Soundarya explain us how should we decide on what is the best DEI strategy for the organization. Over to you, Dr. Soundarya.
To determine what is the best DEI strategy for your organization is to actually take stock of how diversity, equity, and inclusion is currently playing out in your workplace. A strategic solution actually needs to, first of all, understand both the representation part and the inclusiveness part in your workplace. It would be critical for a strong strategy to emerge to begin by acknowledging whatever shortcomings already are there in your workplace. And for this, I think it's very important to monitor all the metrics, and by measuring what is already happening, we can assess what can be the best strategy for DEI in your company.
Thank you so much, Dr. Soundarya, for explaining in simple terms on how inclusive organizations can leverage diversity in teams to strengthen their inclusion strategies by using simple metrics, assess, and take affirmative actions towards strategizing DEI. Today, in our employee success story segment, we have Sulekha Alat Puthanveetal, Chief of Staff, Video Collaboration, Engineering at Logitech. Sulekha is going to talk to us about on how she defied the odds and engineered her career through. With over a decade of experience in Logitech, Sulekha joined the organization as Director, Technical Program Management, and is currently the Chief of Staff of Video Collaboration Engineering. Hailing from Mumbai, Sulekha relocated to the United States in her early 30s. In today's session, she's going to talk about the challenges she faced and how she defied the odds to be successful in her career in the STEM field. Over to you, Sulekha.
Hi, thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to talk to you. I am Sulekha Somashekar Alak Puthanveetal. I am the Chief of Staff to the Head of Engineering in Logitech's Video Collaboration Business Group. I started my career in India. To step back a little further, I was raised and educated in Mumbai, following which I started work in India. My early career training was in India. And in the year 2000, I came to the United States on a transfer. And since then, I've been here, and the last 11 years has been in Logitech. Yes, my first job coming out of as a graduate and a postgraduate in computer science and programming was as a training executive in a company in the Union Territory of Pondicherry. And it was a training division. And I went out into the industry at that time, teaching everyone from a CEO level, a VP level, to administrative staff in an office on how to use a computer. And this gave me many students from several different industries, and it gave me a tremendous exposure to people and as their teacher, basically. Following that, I worked as the head of EDP in a glass factory, and this was in an industrial estate. I was one of perhaps two women in staff there, and glass is a 24/7 industry with quite a large number of people, engineers and technicians in the factory. After that, I was hired as the head of quality assurance, and also an R&D associate with an ASIC design company, from where I eventually was transferred to their office in Silicon Valley, California, in the United States. And I continued to work in the area of video engineering primarily. This included products that are used for video capture and also video editing. My area of expertise is in engineering program management, and whether it's software or hardware, my team would handle that. We are responsible, in other words, for execution excellence. And today I have grown into the position of the Chief of Staff of Engineering. It is a position that basically has, it's a position that basically utilizes all of my experience and strengths in the years of technical program management that I did in engineering. I think it starts at home with the influence of very strong women. That is at least my experience. So first of all, I was raised by a full-time working mother who wanted her economic independence and who wanted to be gainfully employed. And she emphasized that to her daughters. And also in a home with a father who supported that. I grew up not feeling that I was in any way inferior to my male counterparts. And I grew up with a very, very strong purpose and, I would say a conviction to work, to be employed, and to be economically independent. Now, I don't think I knew that I was breaking any barriers, but I did know one thing, and that was again a very strong lesson that is ingrained in me, and that is to stand up and be counted. So it wasn't easy, and in various male-dominated environments, you end up being the loudmouth woman if you are contradictory, or if you just stand up and be counted. But I was raised to do that regardless of what anybody else may set out to do to bring me down. Earlier on in my career, I would say that I graduated from university with a degree in microbiology. But very quickly, I think it's these aspects of my life that enabled me to understand that if I wanted to start work in order to be economically independent and responsible for my own life, I wasn't able to do that for the next 8 years in the field of microbiology till I finished a PhD. And I was not willing to wait that long. So it's a combination of good luck and being at the right place in the right time. When computer programming education opened for non-engineering or physics, chemistry, and math disciplines, and I just took the chance and I leapt at it. I must say here, though, that in my career, in my career and in my student life, one of the things I have appreciated and been extremely lucky to have is a mentor, and it is someone who actually brought this information to me about computer programming and how you don't, how any graduate discipline that can think logically can go into this field and make a successful career out of it. And I'm eternally grateful to that mentorship and this gentleman bringing this information to the table. And that's what made me take this chance and go for it. It did mean that when I started work, I was getting into a field of engineering that was first of all full of people with engineering degrees in that area of work, and also it was male dominated. Uh, there again, it's just the inherent ability to stand up and be counted that allowed me to continue, to not be belittled, to keep my self-esteem going. And again, there were mentors. Among these men, there were men who um, recognized my abilities, my strengths, my potential to do better, to lead, and they encouraged me. And they they were in my corner. So I was very fortunate to have that too. Very much. As I mentioned, I am not an engineering graduate. And when I entered the workspace where everyone around me is an engineering graduate, a few things happened. One is either the questions I asked could be dumb, in their assessment, because I didn't understand or know the depth of technology that they did. And I do remember feeling that I wish I knew more so that I could ask better questions, or I could ask leading questions with more insight into the technology. But I came to the conclusion that if I were to wait for that to happen, it's going to mean that I have to go back to school and study engineering, whereas if I had a job to do and a career to build, and I told myself that no question is stupid. If the recipient of the question is going to think it's stupid, that's their problem. It's not mine. Um, I had a job to do, which they were not willing to do or they were not leading. And if I wanted to do that job well, I would ask the questions. I would ask the questions from the answers and find my way through it. And this went on for quite a bit, but then you become, at least I became resilient. I have absolutely no problem in admitting that I don't know something and ask a question, and I don't think I don't consider myself dumb either. So it took some growing into that, into the person I am today. I do remember feeling quite belittled. I don't anymore. I think very quickly I didn't. I think, in school, it starts very young. I would say that it started at home because I have a lot of strong women examples in the family. And my father was very particular that his that particular about education and us having careers, me having a career. But in school too, I was always encouraged to participate. You have to play the game. If you're going to worry about winning, you might end up not playing the game. And if I were to look back from my very early years as in school or in college, I participated regardless. And I tell you, there is no better education than the one you get out of failure. And it came to a point where, whenever I failed, I was okay with it. And it gave me confidence just participating, because you encounter different situations, uh, different kinds of people, and your wiring as an individual, there are many things in one's brain or system that we almost never exercise because we don't allow ourselves to expose ourselves to those situations. But if you do, then those circuits, for lack of a better word, those circuits will fire and you will know how to use them.
So
So I built my confidence from, participation. So, I would say that it is important for women to know what they want out of their lives. Now, if it is a marriage and children, motherhood, and if that is a priority for them, then that is what they should pursue on priority. But very often, women who desire a career also desire these other things, as my mother did. And the issue really is that we don't support women enough as a country, as a community, as employers. We don't give enough value or time to understand that a woman actually plays so many different roles for which she is not given due recognition. Um, she's unpaid in those roles, um, most often underpaid, and she's always facing some kind of a risk. She'll lose her job, she'll not be able to get back her job. These are things at a national level and in every corporation that that have to change, because an individual woman cannot do this herself. If she wants to take a career break, to have a child and to raise an infant in the first couple of critical years when, attention of a mother is very important, she's sort of punished for it when she wants to get back into the workforce. And one can be very resilient, but if the doors don't open, it's difficult. It's very easy for me to say, don't give up. It's very easy for anyone to say, don't give up. Start applying for jobs. Go keep looking for a job. But it can be extremely, demoralizing when you have a large population looking for of new students and new professionals coming into the field every day, and here you are after a 2-year break trying to get back into the workforce. One of the things, though, that come to mind for me as a possible solution, and this comes from a panel discussion that my head of engineering and I were involved in a few days ago, where we were addressing students and new graduates. And I think one of the things what we said there to new graduates could apply to women who are trying to get back into the workforce also, is that take the job. If you analyze it too much, you will get into an analysis paralysis. So perhaps there is a job that, perhaps there's a way to get your foot back in the door. I have to say that the other thing is that for young women, make your choices carefully. Give yourself time. The old rules that you have to be married by a certain age and have a child by a certain age, otherwise you're on the shelf. Um, I don't think we should give much credence to such to such rules. I mean, I chose to be single by choice, so you don't have to be married, you don't have to have children. That's another thing women should consider. They are not defined by somebody else's rules about what being a woman is. I chose to be married to my profession, and being single means that you have to do everything for yourself. But I made that choice, and I know what I want out of my life, and I work towards that. Not only for a woman, but I think for everybody, having a mentor who is in your corner, I think it's one of those. It's a wonderful thing, and it's you know a good mentor is somebody who you will accept compliments and you will accept their recommendations for improvement in the same in the same way. In fact, you will feel good about it both ways. In my case, that is how I knew that this person is someone I would look up to as a mentor, because I could take both the good and the not so good, feeling great about it, feeling great about both. So, the other thing is that a good mentor will see certain things about you that you don't yourself. For example, I did not know that I could lead field applications engineering. But it is my mentor who said, look, um, these are the qualities we're looking for in a person to lead this role, and you have them. Um, these are at least the foundational qualities, and you have them. And that gave me confidence to take that step. So mentorship, I mean, a good mentor is somebody who's in your corner and from whom uh, you can hear the good and not so good about yourself and feel that, yes, this is something that is going to help me. It's something that I have to work more at, and you'll feel great about that. Right. So in my case, and I can speak from my experience primarily, and that is the person who hired me into the role of an R&D associate, and then I grew in that company, was someone who believed very strongly in recruiting for attitude and training for skill. And what I did was I kept up a cadence with this person at work to review my work, to get corrections, and sometimes to get credit for something that I've done well. And it's a relationship of absolute honesty. You have to keep aside, um, you have to focus on the task at hand and your own growth in that role, um, keeping aside all the other noise, um, of any kind of, I don't know, office politics and gossip. I think this cadence and also focusing on the task at hand and how I could get better at it. So it came to a point when I said, I'm really good at this now. I'm ready for something better. That conversation also could be had. And, you maintain this relationship even after you leave maybe that company where you had this mentor, which is the case for me. I'm still in touch with my mentors. They are still my mentors. I, talk occasionally to them about, I discuss about career situations. And, it's really great to to see that they still know me the way I am, and they've been watching my growth and are able to guide me in my next steps. You have to maintain that relationship with your mentors as well. So while you're in the same space as your mentor, I would say a cadence with focus on what you're doing and what you should be doing next is great, but maintaining that relationship with your mentor even after you leave the space where you are working together is very, very valuable. You know, I think the barrier is myself. Um, it is if at any point there's been a block, it has been because I have not had the confidence to take the challenge. Or, I mean, that's one thing. Or I want to do it so perfectly that I'm simply not taking the first step, which um, could mean that I bumble, but I'm just overthinking it and wanting to be perfect. In terms of a male dominated environment, of course, I just think that doing my job, doing my very best at my job, and proving that the way I do it is appreciated and is very effective is how I probably broke any barriers to do with people not being sure whether I could do the job. And in engineering in particular, when I started with hardware technical program management, or rather, in the company I'm with now, which had more focus in a hardware portfolio, I was not held back by the fact that I did not know hardware engineering. I mean, I'm not an electrical engineer or a mechanical engineer, but in my area of work, what I needed to do was to ensure that the execution happened as efficiently as possible. So I determined and understood the subject matter that I have to know well enough to move the execution efficiently from concept to mass production. And it is to Logitech's credit that, again, I was hired based on my skills and what people knew about how I work. And it's a kind of company where you don't have to be afraid to say, I don't know this, can you please help me? And without doubt, almost everything I learned in the course of hardware technical program management is because there was a tremendously accommodating and helpful and supportive team of people, be it from operations or in engineering, to help move things forward. Because I would go to them saying, I need to do this and this and this to get the project to this space and this point. What should happen in engineering to take it there, or what should happen in operations to take it there? And they would then get into engage with me in a discussion as to what they need from us, from me, my team. And that is how we worked through it. So I think I've never been afraid to ask questions. And moving into hardware technical program management, I think I probably asked the most questions that I ever have in my career. Um, so yeah, this is progress. I can't say very clearly no. I mean, what I mean is I can't say very clearly that I remember any instance where I was very obviously, um, differentiated, or whether there was any um, partiality or preference for a male counterpart. That has not occurred. I guess I've just been very lucky in my career to work with teams where my role and the job that I do has had its place at the table, just as everybody else's. I did. I mean, I think I had the ambition for sure that I wanted to lead. I wanted to lead a team. I wanted to lead, whether it was a team of people or it was a an initiative. Um, I I I did lead in school as well, and I had a tendency to want to take on responsibility. So I certainly didn't think I'd be chief of staff of a video collaboration engineering team though. Um, but I was growing. I mean, from the time after I um, after my job as a training executive, I was almost always a manager. I don't think it's any different from how a man is viewed from the point of view of what is needed to lead. Do you have the education? Do you have the experience? Do you have it in you, in your personality, to lead? Now, it is actually it's no different there from a man and a woman, but I think in several organizations, um, the tendency is to give a man that position, perhaps because he is somehow more confident in putting himself forward. Women tend to, I think, not be very assertive about their skills and about their ability to lead. It is changing, but I think they doubt themselves. We doubt ourselves. I should not say they. I'm a woman too, so we doubt ourselves. Will I be able to do it? What will happen at home if this job that takes so much of my time? Um, you know, these other things where women feel that they don't have support is what makes them hold back, because the ingredients I feel are the same. You have to be good in your subject matter, you have to be good at leading. The subject matter of leading also has to be there, and your desire to lead. And I think women who succeed in this are those who just go for it and they don't allow these other aspects to you know to make to make them feel to impact their confidence and their self-esteem. You do have to have a support system, particularly if you have children, and that's where social change in terms of everything from our education systems to our employers, um, giving women the support they need so that they can feel uh, that they're not making this, I chose my career against my children kind of choice, but rather that they can manage both. And fundamentally, the man has to change, uh, in all our societies. And to be honest, if I remember correctly, that was one of your questions as to how is it different in India versus when I came to the United States. And to be frank, women have the same issues here as they do in India. It's just different. Um, it's I can see how difficult it is for a woman in Silicon Valley with a career, and frankly, it's extremely expensive and cost prohibitive to find help, domestic help at home, and to be able to manage your children and your household and everything, and both of you have to be working. It's and women go through the same issues in tech with the boys club. I would say that um, unfortunately, I also see it this way, that women tend to sometimes be the worst enemy of other women also, because many women have succeeded and learned to succeed by learning to play in the boys club. And that is how they managed to bring themselves up, or uh, earn their economic independence. And they know that that's the game they have to play. But if there are other women who refute it, or stand up against it, um, women tend not to support each other. That is a thing that also has to change, because otherwise we will always be used against each other. Okay, so the I think it's a combination of knowing what that particular area that you're working in um, offers you. In the sense that if you are an engineer, a woman engineer, it doesn't mean that you have to only be coding. There are other opportunities that may not have to do with coding, but still have to do with engineering, that you might want to pursue to grow in leadership. Because when you go from an individual contributor to a manager, you have to give up to some extent this isolation that you have. uh, I guess isolation is not the right word, but you've been an individual contributor, you had your own silo in which you were working. You have to step out of that so that you are now able to manage multiple silos of people, or situations. So a good way is to, if you want to move up in leadership, is to take that view of, okay, I have the technical skill now. If I want to move in leadership, what does it move up in leadership? What does that role require beyond the technical skills that I have right now? Because if you already have the technical skills, that part of the deal is already settled, and you don't have to worry about it. It is the rest of it that you have to develop. And there are many things in leadership that may not be something that people who prefer to be in core technology want to do. They don't want to deal with budgets. They don't want to deal with hiring. They don't want to have to deal with, the everyday um, running of a group. Um, if you don't want to do all that, I don't think you can grow into a management role where you have to where you have to manage people, you have to manage budgets, and likewise on the when you say on the strategic side, if you want to lead a group and be responsible for its P&L, then perhaps you need to develop your business skills, and understand what do you have an idea of how you would, perhaps you could ask yourself, where would this group go if I were its leader? And frankly, if you have an ambition to lead a group, and from a business perspective, and you have strategic vision, you can experiment that with yourself. Experiment that with yourself by asking yourself these questions, because you will know if you have those strategic skills, if you're looking at a group and saying this is where its growth should be. And you'll know from your interest in the kind of information that you are trying to learn of the group, whether that is where you want to go. And in companies like Logitech, we have the opportunity to go and say, I would like to lead this. But you go and say that, and you say, because I believe I can do it. And you'll always be asked why. And you should have asked that question to yourself and be able to put your case on the table as to why you think you'd be able to lead something. I would say to those who are starting their careers, I would say don't get into, like I said before, don't get into your analysis paralysis of the most ideal job. Um, get into the workforce, and that is the best way to determine where you want to go. The other thing for women leaders is that, be prepared to stand up and be counted. When you're sitting at the table, have something to say and bring to that table. And that will come if you apply your skill to whatever that discussion is around the table. Make your voice heard. Oh, absolutely. I would say, if you're entering engineering, and in Logitech, we are indeed very, very, um, we strongly support diversity, equity, and inclusion. It is a place where it is a place where anybody who wants to work with us should feel that this is the employer they wanted to work for. And particularly to young women, I would say this, that when you get into engineering, don't just look at it, as I said before, as just that area of skill that you have. You can do, and this is another thing that when we talk to college students, we tell them too, that just because you're studying engineering, coding isn't the only job. Explore other aspects within engineering that you might like to do. You might like to be a technical product manager if you're interested in defining products. You can be a technical program manager if you are interested actually in being this glue function in the middle of a whole engineering organization that's taking a project from concept into production. There are several such roles that you can view yourself in, and within Logitech you could even in your area of, say, if you're actually coding as a software engineer or you're a hardware engineer, within that itself, as we discussed earlier, you should be, I would encourage young people to assess whether they are happy where they are, even as individual contributors. What is their growth, or do they want to get into the management roles? And whenever your review period comes, um, prepare your questions for your manager to say, look, I've been doing this, but this is what I'd like to do. What is the path for me to get there? And you can work on a path with your manager. The manager may have certain expectations of somebody in that role, and that may mean that you have to prove certain skills and certain abilities, but you will know that, and you can set the stage with your manager that, look, in the next year I want to develop these skills because this is where I want to be.
Mm.
Well, to women all over the world, just because in some parts of the world people speak English and they dress in a certain way, it doesn't mean that they don't have the same problems that women in other parts of the world who may be viewed as less sophisticated or whatever in this context have. I've seen women across the globe with the same problems, and I will say that women have tremendous skills. Get your education, get into the workforce, be gainfully employed, focus on your economic independence because you are not unequal to anybody, and stand up and be counted. Thank you for the opportunity at Diversity Team Avatar. It was a pleasure talking to you, and I hope that our conversation will encourage women to become leaders.
Thank you so much, Sulekha. It was totally inspirational and motivational. Women in STEM, make up only 28% of the workforce in the science, technology, engineering, and math segment. And men are they vastly outnumber women, majoring in most of the STEM fields, not only in just the college, but also in workplaces. The gender gap does persist here in the STEM field. There is a huge importance, the importance of female role models, women role models in the STEM field is unparalleled. And we are extremely grateful to you, Sulekha, for having shared your journey and story with us. The key takeaway, as you said, get into the workforce, and the best way to determine that you want to be there is to just get back into the workforce and make your voice heard. So, those were the beautiful takeaways that we have from Sulekha today. Thank you so much once again, Sulekha, for having shared your journey with us. Tomorrow, in our Breakthrough Thoughts segment, we have Mr. Unikrishnan, AR, Managing Director, Saint Gobain India Private Limited, Glass Business. Mr. Unikrishnan started his career with Grindwell Group, which later became a Saint Gobain company. Unikrishnan worked closely with the Saint Gobain Group in 1997 to develop strategic blueprint for the company's investment in India, particularly in the glass business. He has played a pivotal role in Saint Gobain Glass India's journey to market leadership in a very short period of time, state of the art manufacturing, and the impeccable quality and trusted brand building. With his rich experience of over 20 years in the glass industry, Mr. Unikrishnan now is the managing director of Saint Gobain India Private Limited, the glass business. Apart from his professional role at Saint Gobain, he's a thought leader across various fora in the areas of sustainability and regulations, drafting key policy structures and frameworks for the Indian construction industry. He is also the chairman of Glazing Society of India, chairs the CII Tamil Nadu Manufacturing and Competitiveness Panel, and also chairs the CII Southern Region Task Force on Environment and Sustainability. The other speaker from Saint Gobain for tomorrow is Soumya Iyer, who is the team leader, human resources, sales, marketing, and support functions. Soumya leads the HR initiatives for sales, marketing, and support functions. Soumya is responsible for all facets of an employee's life cycle with specific emphasis on continual improvement of employee experience. She comes with about 15 years of HR experience and has been associated with various organizations in the financial services industry, where she has been responsible for performance management, employee learnings, and speaking for inclusion and diversity, amongst other areas of work. Soumya is passionate about creating equal opportunities for employees and candidates, and she has been very actively involved for creating awareness and opportunities in the areas of gender diversity, opportunities for differently abled and also the LGBTQ community as part of her previous employment stints. With St. Gobain's growing emphasis and passion to diversity, she continues to hold the baton high and encourages diversity related conversations. Soumya has been an important member of the IC for POSH in her previous stints and dons the mentor hat for women from all facets of life who are restarting their journey back to work. We will have both the speakers talk about how women can make successful career comebacks. So we look forward to having all of you joining us tomorrow sharp at 4 p.m. for this some very exciting and riveting session. Also, if you may have missed the agenda for the rest of the week or rest of the days of the December, please do catch the agenda at our portal www.myavatar.com, myavtar.com. So once again, on behalf of Team Avatar and myavatar.com, I thank each one of you and welcome you to the rest of the Diversity Mahotsav through the month of December as we celebrate diversity and as we celebrate you. Once again, we would like to thank our partners, our ideology partners Cognizant, HCL Technologies Limited, Strive, Our supporting partners Foratia India Private Limited, Logitech Engineering and Designs India Private Limited, Saint Gobain India Private Limited, Sodexo India, and Zorian Solutions. We would like to thank our community partner, NASCOM. Our social media hashtags are hashtag diversity Mahotsav, hashtag celebrating diversity. Do post your experiences of attending all the sessions at Diversity Mahotsav on your social media handles by tagging the relevant hashtags. And if you're someone who has not registered yourself at myavatar.com, please log on today at myavatar.com and register yourself. Once you do that, you will be able to explore the various opportunities and activities at our portal that celebrate diversity. Browse through the portal to find jobs that are relevant to you, that might suit your skill sets, read articles of your interest, and also upskill yourself through the various webinars that have been curated and conducted exclusively for you. And do not forget to join tomorrow sharp at 4 p.m. for yet another insightful session. You can also view the Diversity Mahotsav series on our YouTube channel, Avatar, The Power of Diversity. The link is posted in the chat box. And in case if you have missed our previous days or the previous episodes of Diversity Mahotsav 2021, please do click on the YouTube link to watch all the episodes. This is Lakshmi Vijay Kumar signing off. Till then, have a great evening, mask up, and stay safe.